Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Anna Manuel. 1 month after President Biden's announcement forgiving some student loans, borrowers are now becoming targets for scammers as the program is rolled out. Our Maggie Hall tells us what to look out for.
Navigating student loan debt is already a difficult thing.
Student debt doesn't just defer your dreams, it can derail your life if you get caught under this situation where you're trying to be liberated from it.
While the student loan relief program will greatly impact many New Yorkers,
$16.3 billion in student debt will be canceled in this state alone.
It also adds another piece to the already intricate puzzle of student loan debt. A puzzle that now borrowers must navigate. And now the New York State government is warning borrowers against scams occurring all across the state. Governor Hochul personally addressed these scammers, stating, "Today we're putting scammers on notice. We will not let you take advantage of hardworking New Yorkers. I urge everyone to remain vigilant and stay informed to stop these bad actors in their tracks." So how can you stay vigilant? Only use .gov websites when seeking assistance with your student loans. Don't trust any program or person that promises you early, special access, or guaranteed eligibility. The Student Loan Relief Program will launch in early October, and early access to it does not exist. Never give your social security number, your federal loan information, or personal information of any kind to any caller that contacts you about the federal loan relief program. No one from the Department of Education will be making calls in regards to this initiative, and any official contact will come from no reply at studentaid.gov. The federal student aid website has more advice on how to avoid student aid scams at studentaid.gov/resources/scams. Maggie Hall, Big Fox News, Corning.
A car totaled the front of a Bath home this weekend. Police report that around 6:30 Saturday night, a car crashed into the Geneva Street home. Residents were inside the home at the time. Emergency personnel reported no serious injuries to those residents. The driver suffered minor injuries and had to be removed from the car with the help of first responders. That accident is currently under investigation. Elmira street crews will begin paving several streets starting tomorrow. The Department of Public Works says that the paving should last until Friday the 23rd. The paving will happen on the streets listed on your screen. For any questions about this project, you can contact the Department of Public Works at 607-737-5750. A Steuben County man has been arrested on child pornography charges. John Buckley of Wayland faces a maximum of 40 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Authorities received a phone that once belonged to Buckley that contained the pornographic images. The phone was turned in by an ex-girlfriend of Buckley who lives in Florida. Guthrie opened a new walk-in clinic for patients in the Southern Tier. Big Fox's Josh Feldberg has more on the new addition.
Guthrie has announced the opening of a new location for urgent orthopedic needs. The new orthopedic walk-in clinic is located within the Big Flats Specialties and Rehabilitation Services building. With the new addition, Guthrie adds another clinic to their already 5-hospital system. Guthrie's clinics employs around 6,500 caregivers and 700 physicians to provide high-quality care to those in the Twin Tiers. Orthopedic injuries are often related to a person's bones or joints and are the result of an accident or trauma to the body. Orthopedic injuries can become more common as you get older. As you age, your bones tend to lose density, which makes them more vulnerable to breaks or fractures. Some of the orthopedic injuries the clinic can provide assistance for include sprains, strains, dislocations, muscle, tendon, or ligament injuries, or other sports injuries.
The clinic is now open Monday through Fridays from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 8 a.m. to noon. If you are experiencing any injuries or discomfort, the clinic is now open for assistance.
Josh Feldberg, Big Fox News, Big Flats.
213 new COVID cases were reported in Steuben County since last Monday. The Steuben County Health Department announced that this would take the county into the medium community level. The county's percentage of positive cases is 8.9. To hear more about the county's COVID status, you can contact the Steuben County Public Health Department at the number on your screen. The Southern Tier Craft Beverage Trail will be launching this week. The trail is a partnership between 13 local alcoholic beverage businesses. Visitors to the trail will be able to sample local beer, wine, spirits, and hard cider products. Those who wish to participate can pick up a trail passport from any of the 13 locations beginning September 23rd. For more information and participating locations, check out the trail's website. Hailing a cab in New York City could soon cost riders a big chunk of change. Taxi cab fares in the Big Apple could rise about 23%, and it would be the first fare increase in 10 years. The Taxi and Limousine Commission says the rate hikes are needed to ensure drivers can cover increasing expenses. Proposals include raising the base fare from $2.50 to $3 and an additional unit charge rise. Other increases would affect livery car, nighttime and rush hour riders, and surcharges to local airports. A public hearing will be held October 6th. A Broadway staple is taking its final bow next year. Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical, The Phantom of the Opera, will close in February of 2023. The longest-running show in Broadway history is confirmed to play its final 5 months, with the final performance on Saturday, February 18th at Broadway's Majestic Theater. Phantom of the Opera debuted in 1988 and has had over 13,000 performances. Other international productions will continue, including the flagship London production, which will celebrate its 36th anniversary next month. Sadness sweeping over the UK as the nation and the world say goodbye to a historic monarch. Lauren Blanchard is in London with the latest on the funeral and burial of Queen Elizabeth II.
Great Britain and the world say goodbye to the UK's longest reigning monarch, Queen Elizabeth II.
The last of the mourners filed through Westminster Hall early this morning. Hundreds of thousands have paid respects to the late Queen since Wednesday, before the hall closed to prepare her coffin for the state funeral procession to nearby Westminster Abbey. Security remains tight, with President Biden among hundreds of world leaders here in London for the state funeral.
All who follow the Queen's example and inspiration of trust and faith in God can with her say, we will meet again.
Queen Elizabeth II's funeral broadcast across more than 200 countries, with public screens at more than a dozen locations across the UK.
We've just spent the weekend in Paris, and we thought we were in London. Let's stay overnight and take it all in. It's going to be a very emotional day.
The emotional service concluding with a 2-minute period of nationwide silence. Members of the royal family then followed soldiers as they transported the coffin on a gun carriage to Wellington Arch.
The Queen will be buried alongside her late husband, Prince Philip, who died last year at the age of 99. In London, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Your complete workweek forecast is next. Plus, reactions pour in on the immigration battle between Republican governors and the Biden administration. Stay with us.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Well, our Monday turned out to be a rainy day, and we brought in about 1/4 inch to about 1/2 inch of rainfall before the rest of the evening did turn to some of those blue skies. Now, we'll still see a stray shower too, as there has been some leftover activity behind that first wave, and especially with some of that sunshine, you may have noted a pop-up thunderstorm or two pushing on through, but we'll see that any of those lingering showers and thunderstorms should diminish, and we'll clear out those skies overnight and watch our temperatures fall into the 50s, looking at a fairly comfortable start to the day, as we typically should should be falling into the 40s, so 56 is not too bad. May see some patchy fog, but that might be more likely for our Wednesday morning, as we will be talking about a changing forecast. Now, we should keep the brighter skies as we head throughout the day on Tuesday as well as Wednesday, as temperatures will be warming potentially back up even into the 80s, getting some really last-minute summertime conditions, as Wednesday is our last day of summer, and then we move into astronomical fall on Thursday. But what will happen on Wednesday evening is that we will be timing out a frontal system passage. It could bring some strong to severe thunderstorms to the area, but then also usher in a fall-like weekend, as we'll see that Friday could be the coolest day of the week with high temperatures into the 50s. That is jacket weather for sure. Now, when we head into our Tuesday, looking to be a still gorgeous day. A little bit of humidity at play, so it's going to feel a little warmer out there, but for September, not too bad. Some passing cloud cover, and we'll return from those 50s back up to about the mid-70s. So we're bringing temperatures back above average as we continue to see a few of those over the weekend, as we even saw an 80-degree day this weekend. Now, we had 75 on the board here for our Tuesday, looking at Finger Lakes potentially into those lower 70s, Westfield 73, so typical, maybe a little warmer than average. Wednesday is going to be that last push of some of these summertime conditions. Humidity at play as well again, as we have a southerly wind that's going to bump us up to about 80 degrees. So now we're looking at 5 to 10 degrees above average, and with this there's that humidity and instability, so we're talking about the potential of some storms. So we get this little peak of heat ahead of this cold front, and as the cold front drops through Lake Ontario, it has a risk to bring some severe weather. So right now the Storm Prediction Center does have a slight risk across portions of Lake Ontario there, dropping from Rochester just through the Finger Lakes, and then a marginal risk from Elmira and Corning, and then down into portions of Pennsylvania. So there will be the risk for some severe storms, larger hail and damaging winds. We'll keep an eye on that threat still a few days out. We'll watch how that cold front continues to evolve through the area. It will linger some showers and thunderstorms, especially across the Elmira area into the early day on Thursday, keeping conditions cool at 65 degrees. We continue to stay cool at 60 degrees on Friday. Then we see some improvements into the weekend, as we'll bring in some bright skies, as we'll get to about 71 on Sunday, but it looks like the fall pattern wants to dominate as we step into next week.
The debate over immigration is heating up after Republican governors in Texas and Florida sent migrants to liberal strongholds like New York City and Martha's Vineyard, and to the vice president's home in Washington. Democrats criticizing the move, saying migrants are being used as political pawns. Lucas Tomlinson is at the White House with the latest.
On the Sunday talk shows, Republicans defending the decision to send busloads of migrants to blue states, claiming millions of illegal migrants have already showed up to the southern border since President Biden took office.
You're talking about 3.4 million people just since the start of this Biden administration that have crossed the border, and they're coming into southern states. What is a governor supposed to do? They're trying to send a message to the rest of the country.
Democrats are furious over Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sending migrants to Martha's Vineyard. Locals quickly rejected them, sending 50 out on one of the first outbound ferries to nearby Cape Cod. The National Guard was also called in. Now the migrants are living in a barracks on a military base on the Cape. FoxNews.com reports former President Barack Obama and several other high-profile Democrats who own large homes on Martha's Vineyard have remained silent on whether or not they will open up their homes to the migrants. New York Mayor Eric Adams and the state's Republican gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin weighed in.
When we first discovered that the Texas governor was actually orchestrating this political, showmanship, we reached out to the office and stated, let's coordinate this crisis together and figure out how to address this together. They never coordinated. They continue to send the buses.
I feel bad for these states that feel like they need to operate as if they're also the federal government, deploying their own troops to their own border and not being backed up by this federal government.
When President Biden returns home from London following Queen Elizabeth's funeral Monday morning, he faces a growing migrant crisis on the southern border and recession fears. Right now, there's no plans for the president to visit the border. At the White House, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Well, it's been a year since the Taliban banned girls in Afghanistan from getting a secondary education. Trey Yingst has more on exactly how everything is looking in the country today.
Good evening. It's been 1 year since the Taliban banned young girls in Afghanistan from attending secondary education. Today, the United Nations called the decision shameful as the world marked the anniversary. The acting head of the UN mission to Afghanistan said the situation was entirely avoidable, adding that the restrictions are tragic. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres tweeted Sunday that, quote, girls belong in school. The Taliban must let them back in. While in some provinces, girls can attend some form of secondary education, this is now the exception, not the rule in Afghanistan. An estimated 1 million girls have missed out on education since the Taliban takeover last year. In August, Fox News pressed Taliban officials in Kabul on when girls could return to high school. One official blamed a lack of teachers and pens, providing no evidence to support his claims. Overall, life has changed significantly for the Afghan people. Now countries around the world must make challenging choices about providing aid to Afghanistan while not funding the Taliban. In Jerusalem, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
Still ahead, Queen Elizabeth was a fan of Scotch whiskey. We take a look at her favorites coming up. Well, when it comes to produce, the farmer's market may be more economical than the supermarket. Lauren Harskin reports from Birmingham, Alabama.
It's great for business, great for us, great for farmers.
Tori Spinks is talking about the large crowd shopping around the market at Pepper Place.
We've been very busy, and due to inflation, I think we're having a lot more shoppers who are shopping and buying local because our prices are better than the grocery stores.
Spinks says when you cut out the middleman, it can bring costs down for customers. Unfortunately, though, farmers are also dealing with higher prices.
We've had inflation on our end, obviously due to seeds going up and fertilizers and things like that, but we've tried to stay comparable to our prices in years past because we don't want to price gouge the customers.
Spinks says while they have increased prices for a few items, most are staying around the same to help the customer. She's just grateful people are supporting local farmers and local businesses during a difficult year.
We greatly appreciate it. We're glad you're here. We hope you keep coming back, and we hope to be able to, to keep the prices where they need to be and just the crowds to get bigger every week, and they've done so this year, and it's been, drastically better each week.
Well, many of you all might recall the chicken sandwich wars where fast food brands poked fun at each other as they competed with the super popular meals. And now Pizza Hut is taking a jab at Taco Bell with its new menu item. The pizza brand is launching what's called the Italian Taco. Yes, Italian taco. But it's not even a new food invention. It's simply a traditional pizza slice folded like a taco. Pizza Hut also poked fun at Taco Bell for temporarily taking its Mexican pizza off its menu after it sold out. Pizza Hut says the Italian taco will never run out. As we remember Queen Elizabeth, congressional correspondent and whiskey aficionado Chad Pergram shares the history of her love for Scotch whiskey. He explains the changes ahead since King Charles III has a different palate than the late Queen.
Queen Elizabeth always had a connection to Scotland, and in particular, she had a connection with the Scottish Highlands. She would spend from July until October at Balmoral Castle in the Scottish Highlands, and 1 mile down the road from Balmoral is a distillery called Royal Lochnagar. Now, it got the Royal when Queen Victoria spent time at Balmoral Castle in the mid-19th century. In 1848, she presented it with what we call a royal warrant. That's where you get special dispensation to make a product for the crown. So this is Royal Lochnagar. It has a lot of creaminess to it and a lot of finesse. This is the famous grouse. This is one of the Queen's favorite drams here. It was also a favorite of her sister, Princess Margaret. It received a royal warrant in 1984. Most of it is made at Glenturret in the southern Scottish Highlands. Also some drops from Macallan and also from Highland Park way up in the Orkney Islands. Now in 1995, the Queen was walking near Balmoral and she was hit by not a famous grouse, but a falling grouse. A grouse was flying, died, came down and hit her on the shoulder. She was not severely injured here. Not sure if that was the famous grouse, but it was definitely the infamous grouse. We're now going to sail to the southwest, to the Whiskey Isle, known as Islay. Islay malts always have a lot of smoke, a lot of peat, and one of the oldest distilleries in Scotland is located there. It's called Bowmore. Now, in 1980, Bowmore produced something called the Queen's Cask. They never bottled any of it until 2002, and what they do is they put together a few bottles, give them to the Crown, and the Crown then auctions them off for charity. Now, you can imagine with the new king coming in, There are going to be changes in customs and traditions. We talked about the Queen liking the famous grouse. Well, guess what? The favorite dram of the new King Charles, he likes Laphroaig. This is a distillery on Islay, smoky, medicinal, a lot of nautical notes. It also has a royal warrant that he presented when he was the Prince of Wales in 1994. The 10 is usually what you see, but he tends to prefer the 15 if you can find it. At the Whiskey Wall, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Stay with us. We'll be right back after this. Milkshake lovers might have a new favorite spot that has a lot of options. A drive-in Arizona breaks a world record for the most variety of shakes. The drive-in Delgadillo Snowcap has been a part of Seligman, Arizona since 1953, and it recently broke the Guinness record for the largest display of milkshake varieties, coming up with 266 milkshake flavors in an hour and 15 minutes. This record overtakes the previous record holder, Gibson's Gourmet Burgers and Ribs in South Africa, with 207 milkshakes. I'm Harriet Wallace. Thanks for watching.